Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first hands-on workshop and AMA session under the Informatica's Data Engineering Hackathon 2024. I am Simajit Mukherjee from Team Hack to Skill. I will be your host for today. Providing a heads up for today's joint meeting, and we are running week-long series hands-on workshop where you will be learning about 5 cutting-edge AI-powered intelligent data management cloud services of Informatica. Gain access to exclusive learning resource to kickstart your data engineering journey and get strategies compete with Whirlpool prize pool of 10,000 USD. So let's get started. The primary agenda of today's hands-on workshop is to learn about cloud mass integration. It is use case patterns, architecture, feature, and best practice along with demo followed by question answer session. We have a trainer who will be guiding you all today's topic, cloud mass injection. That is Sudhir, Kalla, and Preetham from Informatica. So over to you guys.
Hi everyone, this is Sudhir. I'm a technical marketing manager at Informatica. So, like you have already reviewed into our earlier session where we have covered in high level detail on a complete IDMC platform. But now in this session, we'll go through the individual details for Cloud Mass Ingestion service. So let's go ahead with the Cloud Mass Ingestion service. So let me share my screen. Yeah, hope everyone can see my screen.
No, not yet. Preetham, your screen is not visible.
Yeah, now you'll be able to see my screen.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah. So this session is about all mass ingestion and replication in IDMC. So, like we discussed, we are only going to cover a cloud mass ingestion service in IDMC, and this is a safe harbor statement saying like the ones which you're seeing here, the ones which you're trying here, may or may not have changes in future. And now let's get into the agenda of the session. So we'll start with the challenges for the cloud mass ingestion, and then we'll see an overview of the cloud mass ingestion, why it is being used, where it is being used, and all. We'll see the different use case patterns. We'll see what is the architecture for the cloud mass ingestion, and we'll see the what is change data capture concept behind this cloud mass ingestion, all the supported sources and targets for the service, what are the best practices, and at the end we'll go through an hands-on walkthrough lab. So we'll go through the critical data challenges. So when it comes to data challenges, we always know like it's always difficult to discover the data. So you may know that your data is present, but you may not know how to find your data. So this is one of the major critical challenge that you find always with your data. And then coming to the next challenge is, so once you find your data, how would you populate and replicate your data? So you have your source system. So you know like your data is sitting some source system, but how do you use the data in order to generate or some meaningful analytics? And then once you have your data, how can you cleanse? How can you enrich? How can you standardize your data? And how can you keep your data secure? How can you master your data? Suppose the data is coming from multiple source systems. It is coming from multiple sources like SAP, Salesforce. So how do you keep and track? How do you keep and check on like, okay, this is my golden record, so this is my final record which I can trust on, and the rest might be an duplicate records which needs to be consolidated. And at the end, how do you govern your data? How do you know like who is going to use your data? How do you control the uses of your data? So these are the critical data challenges that everyone might be going through in their data lifecycle management projects. So in this particular session, we'll focus on particularly on populate and replicate. So this is a cloud mass ingestion overview. So like we discussed last time, so cloud mass ingestion is like a graphic user interface where you have simple 4 steps, where in your first step you define your type of task, and then you set up your source connection, you set up your target connection, and you run your job. That's it. It's a simple 4-step wizard. And using cloud mass ingestion, you can ingest your data either in real time, or you can also ingest your data in batch mode. And more importantly, the best thing that you can do for a cloud mass ingestion is like the out of box connectivity. So you can connect to your databases, you can connect to your streaming sources, you can connect to your files, you can connect to your applications. So later of this deck, we'll see like what are the different databases or streaming sources that are applicable that you can use as your sources or targets for cloud migration service. So going to your next slide. So these are the different use case patterns. Like I mentioned, you can do your batch analytics. So normally people do the batch analytics for some analytical or reporting purposes, or they might do some batch analytics for the self-service data. And some people might be doing cloud using this cloud migration for data replication. So simply you want to move your data from point A to point B. You want to move your data from flat file to database. You want to move your data from cloud lake to cloud warehouse. So you can simply use this cloud mass ingestion. And the next thing is real-time analytics. Suppose you're using a Kafka source, you're using a Confluent source. So you're using an application like Salesforce. So what you want in real-time analytics. So using an Kafka, what you can do is like you can build your streaming ingestion where the data will be picked as soon as it is being read from your source. So this is kind of a real-time analytics to load your data in real time to the target. So now coming to the next thing. So this is the architecture for the cloud migration. So like I mentioned, so you need to have a secure agent. So secure agent is nothing but a lightweight medium which is going to act as an interactive medium between your IDMC and your platform. Suppose you're using a Linux system and you have some files in your Linux system and you want to make sure like your IDMC accesses your Linux system. So what you're going to do is like you're going to install a secure agent on your Linux system, which is going to act as a medium between your system and between your IDMC platform. This way, you can make sure that you can read your data from your local system into your IDMC. It may not be a Linux system. You can also use a Windows platform, or you can use any EC2 machine where you can simply host a secure agent. And coming to the connectivity, so like you can see over here, the secure agent can connect to your databases. It can connect to your applications. It can connect to your Hadoop systems. It can connect to your databases. It can connect anywhere. And coming to the next slide, so let's talk about the data synchronization between source and target. So normally there are three different ways of synchronizing your data. One is like bulk movement of your data. You have data sitting at point A. You want to move your data to point B. You simply create a migration job, set up your source connection, give your target connection, run the job. That's like a bulk movement of data between source A to source B. Now suppose you do not want to move your entire data set. Rather, you want to move only the newer data that is coming into the source system. So over here, in this particular scenario, you're going to use an incremental load. So the first step one is like initial load, where you move your entire data set, and the step two is like you use an incremental load. So by incremental load, what I mean is like you're only going to read your data from your source systems that are added on the rule. So suppose your source system is there and there is an application sitting in the front end and some user has created a record and your application has a new record. So this is like an incremental loop. You have one new record in your source and you're only going to add that particular one new record to your target. So this is called as an incremental loop. Now coming to the change data capture, the third type. What do you mean by change data capture? Suppose there might be chances that not only an addition, there might be few updates that can happen on your data. There might be few deletions that can happen on your data. So there might be chances that your source system might change at any point of time. So in those kind of scenarios, what you're going to do is like you're going to use a change data capture method. While doing a change data capture, all you need to do is like enable your type of change data capture that you want to do and set up the source, set up the target and run your job. So your mass ingestion job will keep on running and it will keep on detecting for any changes that are happening to the source, whether it is an insert, whether it is an update or whether it is a deletion. It will immediately trigger the change and it will pass on to the target. So the same record, if it is inserted in the source, it will be inserted into your target also. By the same way, if it is deleted or if it is updated in your source, it is also going to do the same in your target system. So this is called as change data capture. So now let's learn in detail about the change data capture. So we have three different types of change data capture. One is the time based, the second one is like trigger based, and the third one is like log based. So these are the three different types of change data capture that Informatica supports. So like I mentioned, we already discussed on what the change data capture is about. So let's learn what are the pros and cons with each of these change data captures. So it is up to user's choice, like which particular change data capture that they like to. But if you're going to with a time-based change data capture, there is always an latency issue which can happen or which cannot happen. There might be an adverse impact on the database load because you're reading the data based on the timestamp based, and there could be significant performance challenges. But this is the easiest and the simplest way to capture your changes from the source. Now coming to the trigger based. So what is in trigger based? So trigger based is nothing but the trigger will be activated as soon as the table is modified. So your table is going to have a trigger, and whenever a user creates and updates the source or updates the table or anything, the trigger is going to be initiated. And this way, the change data captures the changes and is going to pass on to the target. But the main disadvantage of using a trigger based is like it will pause the database update. So the moment the trigger is initiated, there might be a particular latency where your database will be paused. So you cannot perform any particular activity on your database. So this might lead to significant latency issues, and you might also face an synchronization issues with your database, source database. So for this reason also, we're not we're not encouraging users to perform a trigger-based cloud change data capture. And the third type is like log-based change data capture. So this is the best possible way to capture your change data capture. So this is the most efficient method, and more importantly, there is no particular additional load on your database server, and it can scale any volume of your data. Suppose there are 100 records that has been changed at the source, there will not be any particular load on the database, unlike this time-based or trigger-based that can create a load on your database. And the only con that the log-based change data capture has is like it needs access to the database logs, which is expected. And more importantly, when you're performing a change data capture, you need not write your queries to enable your log-based. So Informatica Cloud Migration provides you the option where you just need to enable the option. And once you enable the option, you need to just execute. And Cloud Migration is going to enable your source with a log-based change data capture. So there's no manual coding that you need to perform, or there are no manual additional options that you're going to do in order to enable this. So this is like I mentioned, this is the most preferred approach that Informatica suggests in order to perform a cloud migration. Now these are the different sources and targets that are being supported by cloud migration. So you can see there are n number of applications. We have Salesforce, we have SAP, we have ServiceNow, we have Microsoft applications, Oracle applications, Adobe applications, Google applications. All you need to do is like you need to have credentials in order to connect to these applications. So if you have credentials to these applications, all you need to do is like go into IDMC, create a connection for this application, and use this particular application as your source. Now coming to the database. So these are the different type of databases that are supported: Oracle, SQL Server, Postgres, mainframe, and many other Azure, Netezza, MySQL. And you can also see that CDC is enabled on many different types of databases. Now coming to the streaming applications. So like I mentioned, streaming is like a real-time capturing method where you create a streaming ingestion task. And once you create a streaming ingestion task, you can choose a particular source from list of these sources. Like it can be Kinesis, it can be Kafka, it can be AMQP, it can be Event Hub, it can be MQTT, it can be REST, it can be JS, it can be anything from the list of streaming supported sources. Now coming to the file. So you can also create a file ingestion service, and your files can be in Hadoop format. It can be in FTP or SFTP. It can be in your local directory. By local directory, what I mean is like it can be in your local system. Suppose you have some files in your Windows laptop, or if in your Linux machine, you can simply load your data from your Windows laptop to any particular database like Snowflake, or it can be you can load your data to any cloud lake. You move your data to any cloud warehouse. It can be anything. And also we are supporting S3 and Google Cloud Storage, Azure Blobs, and all these different types of file sources. So additionally, there's one thing that we are not yet updated this. So we are also supporting Microsoft Fabric. So you might have already learned that Microsoft has launched this new product called Microsoft Fabric, where you have your own Fabric OneLake, you have your own Fabric Lakehouse, you can have your own Fabric warehouse. So Informatica supports cloud migration on Fabric OneLake as the target. So these are the multiple targets that are supported as target in cloud migration. It can be an blobs, it can be an ADLS, it can be Synapse, it can be Azure S3, or it can be Azure Warehouse, that is Redshift. You can use a Snowflake data cloud. You can use a Google Cloud Storage as your target. You can use a BigQuery as your target. We have Oracle and SQL Server. We have Databricks. We're almost supporting all major cloud ecosystems over here. Like you can see, we have Databricks, we have Snowflake, we have Azure, we have Oracle, and we also have AWS. And like I mentioned, it is not part of the list, but we are also supporting Microsoft Fabric OneLake as the target system. So this is about the migration sources and targets that IDMC supports. So now let's get into the solution approach. So now you have understood, like, you're going to use a migration to replicate or ingest your data. But what are you going to do after you replicate or ingest your data? So from this high level architecture, you can see like Informatica migration can help you to move your data from your on-premise system to your cloud targets, or from your streaming to cloud, or from your SaaS applications to your cloud targets. Now, once you have your data in your cloud targets, now you can perform your ETL on your data. It need not be an ETL. It can also be an ELT. So you can use an Informatica own cloud data integration to perform this. So you can read your data from these cloud targets and then load your data again to a separate staging layer of the cloud targets. You can perform ETL transformations in between on top of your data. It can be a data quality transformation, or it can be a generic transformation that you can perform. So cloud migration performs an gives you an high level space where you can simply lift and shift your data from your source to target systems, from where you can again do your data transformations and perform your analysis on your target data. So this is about a high level solution approach, like how you're going to use your cloud migration. So now let's proceed ahead. Let's see like what are the best practices. So you might be thinking like, okay, migration can help us in moving the data from point A to point B, but we also have cloud data integration in IDMC, which can also move your data from point A to point B. But what are you going to choose in a particular scenario? So let's discuss through a few of these use case scenarios and understand like what are you going to choose based on the sample scenario. Suppose customer wants to perform an ELT pattern. So over here, you can simply choose like cloud migration, or you can also choose your cloud data integration. It can be either of your services that you can opt to. So using cloud migration, you can simply extract and load your data to the target. And using CDI, you can extract, load, and also transform your data on your target systems. So it's one of the most commonly used business scenario. And now coming to the second situation, second use case, like data ingestion and replication from applications, databases, and mainframes or streaming sources into messaging systems. So over here, you're only going to do the ingestion and replication part. So if your use case is only about ingestion and replication, there is no doubt 100% you can use the cloud migration. Now coming to the real time. So real time change data capture, like reading your data updates on a real time. So like we discussed earlier, you can always use your cloud migration as your only IDMC service in order to perform a cloud data capture. I forgot to cover one more topic. So you might have learned about schema drift. So schema drift is nothing like forget about changes in your data. Suppose there is any changes on your source system metadata. Suppose today you have a source system, a customer table, and today there are 10 columns, and tomorrow there are 11 columns in your source table. Or suppose say your email length of the email was 10 characters today, and your upstream has changed the length of your email to 15 characters. So if you're using any other applications and you do not have any change data capture, of if you do not have any schema facility, you need to manually go into your target system and modify your target metadata, like change the structure of your table. But if you're using cloud migration and if your schema drift is enabled, what you can do is like it is upon your user's choice to also make sure like you consider the changes that have happened on the metadata of the table. Like if there is change in the length of the column, or there is a new column that has been introduced into the source system, that will also be picked as part of your migration task. and it will make sure like the same changes replicated into your target also. So over here, the user will not have any manual intervention. The user is no longer going to do any manual coding, or no longer going to trigger and alter statements in order to replicate the changes from your source to target. So this is one of the real good advantages that we have with CDC and schema drift using a cloud massification. So the other use cases are like real-time CDC to cloud data warehouse, where you can always use a cloud massification, and real-time CDC into Kafka. Over here also you can use a cloud massification, or if you want to synchronize your data, so there might yes, it might be a simple use case to synchronize your data from your source to target. So we have some pre-built replication tasks and synchronization tasks where you're going to use cloud massification to load it, to synchronize between your source and target. So suppose you are using an old systems like mainframe systems, datacom systems, IMS systems. So our cloud massification also supports these kind of systems, and you can also perform your CDC. So for this you're going to use a cloud. Sorry, I was wrong. You're going to use cloud data integration for this, and not cloud massification for this. And suppose you want to perform cloud data capture, but you also want to add additional transformations in between, like you're going to pick the changes from the source, but also at the same time you want to enrich your data in between. You want to synchronize it, you want to standardize your data, you want to add more details to your data, you want to perform any analytics in the data in between the source and target. In that case, you're going to use cloud data integration as your source, sorry, as a service. And like I mentioned, if you want to perform an automatic schema drift, then 100% you can use your cloud mass ingestion. So this is the summary about cloud mass ingestion. Like it's a cloud native ingestion. You have unified service for ingestion for different sources. You can orchestrate your data from different kinds of patterns. You can connect to your data to any on-prem systems. You can connect to your cloud. You can perform hybrid, like moving your data from on-prem to cloud. Also, you can make sure like you also connect to an IoT device as your source. You can perform. You can connect to your streaming sources, and it's a simple wizard driven. There is no manual coding that you're going to do. So it's a simple, easy to use wizard. It's a 4-step approach. Define the type of connection, select the source type, connection type, select the target connection type, save your connection, save your task, run the task. That's it. And like I mentioned, it's a real-time monitor. When you trigger execution of your cloud masterization task, you can go into the monitor and you can monitor like at in real time how many sources are picked up, how many records are picked up from the source. So this is an we are end of the introduction to cloud masterization. And before going to our lab walkthrough, I like to select if you have any additional questions. Or Preetham, do you like to add any additional content to your cloud masterization service? Hello. Seems we don't have Preetham, so let me
Yeah,
continue.
like Preetham has dropped off, so let me check. Yeah, he's back.
S- Sorry, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, Preetham.
Okay. Sorry, I got disconnected. Okay. No, I think it's pretty clear. Okay. Just, I think Sudhir has covered it extensively. So, just to reiterate, our Cloud Mass ingestion is our data ingestion service. As Sudhir was pointing out, we support all ingestion patterns, whether it is files, databases, applications, or even streaming sources as well. And we support most of the targets in terms of a cloud data warehouse or data lake, whether it's Snowflake or ADLS or Databricks Lakehouse or Google Cloud, and also the real-time sources like message hubs like Kafka, Confluent Kafka, Azure Event Hub. I think Sudhir has showed one slide which covers all the sources and targets there. So I think Simarjit, once this is, I think the recording would be available. You can share the slides with all the participants. It will be easy for them to refer that. Uh, Apart from that, Sudhir was mentioning about the chain data capture thing. So he showed different patterns of CDC, what which is basically used in the industry. There's timestamp, log based, and trigger based. And log based is our preferred mode of CDC. We see majority, most of our customers who are replicating their data, typically from Oracle to Snowflake or to any on-prem databases to any cloud data warehouse. They use log-based CDC because of its efficiency and performance as well. We also support timestamp as well, but our preferred approach is log-based CDC. So just keep that in mind. And of course, schema drift is one of our key capabilities. It's automatic schema drift. There is no coding involved here with Informatica tools. It has got a wizard-based approach. So they will show you how it happens in the next, and you don't have to do any coding. Neither you have to build any data pipeline as well. So you can directly use wizard-based 5 steps wizard-based approach. And if there is any schema detect happens, you can automatically detect it, whether you have option of whether you want to replicate that or you don't want to replicate, or you can ignore that request actually. So yeah, that's pretty much about cloud mass ingestion. And it also have a monitoring tool as well, which you can help in diagnosing or troubleshooting any jobs that is failed. It has got a unified view, okay, kind of a data observability kind of a feature over here, but it's more of like more for troubleshooting with dashboards and all. So yeah, that's pretty much for the cloud mass ingestion. It's straightforward, okay, service, data ingestion and replication service. And also we support apps as well. So if you guys are looking to ingest any application data from app to app or app to cloud data into a data warehouse or data lake, cloud mass ingestion supports that functionality as well. So yeah, these just to summarize what Sudhir was talking about. I think it's a low code, no code tool. So I don't see it'll be any. We have a lot of tutorials for you guys to just go through it and start up and running quickly. Actually, yeah. Sudhir, sorry, I think I just reiterated all the details what you have shared. Okay, yeah.
No problem. Thanks, Pritham. Thanks. So let me proceed ahead and share you how this looks like now. Now we have already discussed like what cloud migration is about, but now let's see like how it looks like in real. So let me share my screen. I guess my screen is up for everyone. Yeah. So if you guys have already registered for Hack to Skill, so once you are into Hack to Skill, you can see like there are different workshop resources. So now we are into cloud masterization. So over here you can see like there are two different links. One is hands-on workshop resources, another one is like workshop kit. So hands-on workshop resources are nothing but for your if you are stuck with anything, you can go through this link and find out the detailed documentation for the product. And if you have any questions, you can easily find out in the detailed documentation. And the second thing is workshop kit. So this kit is specifically designed for you in order to learn how cloud migration works out. So we have given some sample files over here. We have also detailed a lab guide for you, so you can follow that lab guide step by step basis and build your own first cloud migration service if you like to have an hands-on. So let me show you how the cloud migration looks like. So more importantly, so once you are logged into Hack to Skill, you might be seeing an IDMC sign up trial. So if you register through this trial, so this trial will enable all the services in IDMC for you for 45 days. So we have recently upgraded and made sure like the validity of your trial is 45 days. It is no longer 30 days. But the earlier users who have already logged in, or if you have already registered, your trial still might be 30 days. But we are not stopping you from re-registering again. You can again register using the same URL, and you can create a new login using your same email ID, and then you make sure like your login, your IDMC trial is valid for 45 days, so that if once your idea or prototype is picked up for selection, you can make sure like your IDMC trial is also valid till end of the hackathon event. So now once you register through this URL, you're going to have an IDMC environment of your own. So I registered using this particular URL. I have my own trial, I have my own username, I have my own password. So let me log in into the IDMC platform. So let's give a few minutes. So like you can see over here, if you have already registered to that particular trial, all the services are enabled for you. So like Preetham has already covered in our first session, so you can use mix and match of these services in order to build your own prototype. And it is not mandatory that you use all of the services. It up to user choice. You can bring your own you can use your own services based on your own use case. And so let's now select how mass station looks like. So out of these services, you can select there is mass station service. So let's go into the mass station service. So while the mass station service loads up, so let me cover few more details over here. So the services that we are encouraging users to use over like cloud data integration, data profiling, data quality, mass ingestion, and then we are also asking to use your application integration. We also have InfraCore and ModelServe, which you can use if you are using an AIML use case. So now let's go into mass station service. So this is how the home page looks like. So this over here, you can see like different pre-existing projects. You can create your own new project. You can import if you have any existing content. And now you can see like if you have built any job, you can go into this My Job section and view the data execution statistics. Or if you want to go into any particular folder, you can explore and go into any particular project and folder. Give me a minute. Yeah, sorry for that. So when I click on this new, you can see like there are 4 different types of tasks. So like Preetham mentioned, you can create your own streaming task with sources as Kafka, Confluent Kafka, Event Hub, can be anything. If you're using a source as a file, you can use a file ingestion task. The source can be a local system. It can be any SFTP. It can be any cloud lake, which are always file systems. If you're using any source as database, you can always use database task. It can be like Snowflake, it can be like Redshift, Synapse, it can be any database, Oracle SQL Server. And if you're using any application as a source, you are going to use an application ingestion task. So it can be your SAP, it can be a ServiceNow, it can be your Salesforce, it can be anything of your choice. So for this particular hackathon, if you have any of your own licenses, you're always welcome to use your own choice of your sources. But suppose if there are any users who do not have any particular license, so we have already uploaded a demo in a hackathon where you can see like how to register for an Snowflake database, and you can make sure like you can register for this Snowflake 30 days trial and use this particular Snowflake 30 days trial as your source or target. So now we are back into mass session. So let's see like how a file ingestion looks like. So I click on this file ingestion. So like Preetham mentioned, it's a simple UI wizard. So you can see like the 5 different steps. You are going to define the type of task, and then you're going to mention the location where you're going to store the particular task. You're going to add a runtime environment. You can add your own description. So let us go through an existing task which we have already created for you. So this is one of the customer data task where we are loading the data from a local system to a target, that is Snowflake. So like you can see over here, we have already defined the task name. Yeah, so this is a task name. So creating a runtime environment is mandatory in order to use cloud messaging service or any other service. So we always encourage you to follow this particular video to understand how to create a secure agent and set up your own secure agent in your Linux or in your Windows machine based upon your choice. So now we are into mass ingestion service. So we have clearly defined the task name. The location is the default location. We selected the runtime environment. And now when you click on next, you can see like what is the source type. So we are creating a because this is a file ingestion task, it can be a source connection or it can be a file listener. So file listener, if you are an ETL user, you might have always gone through this particular scenario where file listener helps you in triggering a job whenever a particular incoming file comes. Suppose your file listener keeps on triggering an event at a particular location. And suppose there's a customer file that comes up, and then the file listener triggers, and this particular ingestion task runs up. So it's up to your choice. You can choose your connection, or you can choose a file listener. So when you're choosing connection, there are different type of connection types. So like we mentioned earlier, it can be a local folder. So by local folder, it can be your Linux machine, or it can be a Windows machine with the secure agent is set up, or it can be an advanced SFTP. It can be an Amazon S3. It can be Blob. It can be Gen 1. It can be Gen 2 storage. It can be Google storage. It can be Hadoop file. It can be anything. Okay. So now we are selecting a local folder. So I have created an secure agent. I set up a secure agent inside my Windows machine. And so now that I have my secure agent in this Windows machine, this particular IDMC service can read through my Windows machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the type of source options. So over here, I'm selecting the file by pattern. So I have created this particular path where I've placed all my source files. So if you go into this particular path, there are different type of source files. One stage customer.csv, one stage customers apac.csv, one stage customers brazil.csv. So we have different source files coming from different locations. And again, there are some different other source files also, JSON file, CSV file. But what I'm going to do is I'm only going to read that kind of file which going to start with 1 and ends with .csv. So if you go into that particular source folder, there are only 3 different files, like one starts with 1 and ends with an .csv kind of a pattern. So there's 3 different files which I have already placed in my source. Now I have my source configured. Now let's click on this target. So again, target, there are different kind of targets that you can configure. It can be database, it can be local, it can be anything. So over here, I'm using Snowflake as my target. So I selected Snowflake, and I also created Snowflake connection. So these are the 2 different Snowflake connections that I have created in my IDMC. And I again encourage you guys to go through this particular video to understand how to create a Snowflake connection and how to use that particular Snowflake connection in your cloud data integration or mass station service. So when I select this service connection that is pre-existing, you can select the database name and the additional parameters that are already configured. It is additionally asking for the warehouse name. I have added the warehouse name, database name, schema name. So this will differ for you because you can create your own database and add your own warehouse name, database name, and schema name. So what additionally I did is I created a target table in Snowflake, and that particular target table is FI customer data. So this is my target table, and I added the role for the Snowflake account, and I'm adding an additional option called truncate the target. So if there is any existing records, it's going to truncate the entire table, and only the records that are read from my source are going to be loaded into the target. And I also made sure, I mentioned, the type of file format. Now that I'm using a file ingestion, so my file can be in JSON, it can be Avro, it can be Parquet. So Cloud Migration can read all different types of semi-structured files, but over here CSV is a kind of file. So I given my file format is CSV, and my delimiter is in comma delimiter, and I'm going to skip the header, that is the column name. And if there is any error during the execution, it's simply going to abort the task. So I'm not going to compress the files after the execution or during the execution, and also I'm not going to create any pre-SQL or post-SQL. Suppose there is any use case, suppose you have an data set and you want to create the data before load execution of the task. You can simply create a pre-SQL statement. You can trigger your create statement over here. So what Cloud Migration is going to do is it's going to execute this particular statement even before executing the task. So this is about the target setup. Now coming to the next step. So this is the additional setup that you can do. So let me show you how it looks like. So file processing. So if you want to compress or you want to decompress the file during your execution, you can choose the operation of your choice during your execution. So we are not selecting anything over here. Now let's go into the runtime options. Like you can see, there is a schedule option. You can schedule this particular task to run and to run in a frequently as per your choice. You can also enable an email notification on your failure. You can just add your email addresses. This particular migration task is going to trigger an email if there is any failure in your task. And there are advanced options like concurrency. So this is going to help improve your performance of your migration task. You can perform parallel batch, like you can define the number of parallel batches, and you can also select the log level, like the normal log. If you're going to want a detailed log on your execution, you can select verbose log. But remember, selecting verbose kind of logs will definitely impact the performance of your cloud migration task. So these are the 5 steps that you're going to do in order to configure and file initial task. So now just save and run the task. So once you save and run the task, you can click on the mass station service. You can see the different executions. So if there is any failure, you can simply click on the task and see why, what is the reason behind the failure of your task. And if your task is completed, you can see like the duration of the task. So let me open this particular execution. You can see the start time, you can see the end time, the amount of time the task has run for. You can download the detailed session log, and you can see the 3 different source files that I have configured and the file size. So all 3 have loaded the data into Snowflake successfully. So this is the duration, that is the amount of milliseconds it took in order to load your data from your source file to your target database. So similarly, you can create other type of file migration service. Suppose you're going for a data ingestion service. It is again a 4-step approach where you define the job, the name, location, and runtime environment. Select your load type, like we discussed, initial or it's an incremental load. So incremental load can only be applied on databases, not on files, and like it's a logical way. And then select your source. So over here, if you click on the drop down, it will give the list of sources that you have already pre-created. Now, since I don't have any particular sources that have been created, it doesn't list out any. But if you have any particular kind of databases that you have created, it will list out once you have created that connection. So this is how you create an database ingestion task. So similarly, if you are triggering an application ingestion, you can select an application ingestion task to connect to your Salesforce systems and load your data to any lakehouse or cloud warehouses. And if you want to connect to your any app systems like Kafka or Event Hub, then you can simply select your streaming ingestion tasks. So this is about mass ingestion service, and this is how you're going to create an mass ingestion task. You can simply use the assets that we have in our hack to skills. You can use this workshop kit. So once you click on this workshop kit, we have given you these 3 source files. We have given the detailed step on how to install a secure agent, how to create a connection in IDMC, and how to create a file migration task. So it's very detailed step by step. I'm really sorry. Yeah, so you can follow these lab guides and create your own task. So in order to perform these tasks, you have to create your own. In order to IDMC trial, you have to create your own IDMC trial, and like we discussed, we have our IDMC trial listed over here. That's it for cloud migration service. So if you have any questions, you can drop your questions, or you can always use our Discord group if in order to add your questions over there. Simajit, do we have any questions from any users?
Hi,
Hi,
Sudhir.
Shakti.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for that quick and brief workshop that we did here today. Uh, I guess we have 1, 2 questions. Maybe people will try to, inculcate this for the first time more and then questions. So what I'll do is alternatively, I'll put across a Discord channel as well for all of you to join us and, register for the hackathon, get through the workshops, and also if in case you have any questions regarding this workshop or maybe the overall hackathon, you may pull it up, ask us anytime altogether. So I'll just quickly go through if you have any questions here. I have one question. I'm flashing it on the screen for you. So Lauren has asked, what is the difference between change data capture and incremental research? The sound
No,
like some.
yeah, so the both are same. So in order to enable your master task within change data capture, you have to choose your load type as an incremental load. So that is what. So let me share my screen once in order to clear that. So if you want to perform your change data capture, so all you're going to do, all you need to do is like, so change data capture can only be performed on databases. So simply click on new, select the database ingestion task, add some details about a task. So over here, if you want to perform and change data capture, then your load type should be incremental load. And when you click on the next, you'll have an option to enable the change data capture. So change data capture properties will list out once you select the connection type. So based on the connection type, if the connection is enabled with CDC, you can see the CDC options. So we have this detailed in the documentation. I mean, like the documentation links, additional resources that we have shared, and also there's an additional resources link that Hack to Skill has listed out. So probably you can refer those resources in order to learn more on cloud masterization.
Sure. Thank
Any
you
other
so much
questions?
for that, Sudhir. Uh, in case you guys have any more questions, feel free to drop it here in the chat, or else you can also join the hackathon. I can, drop in a couple of links in the chat. You can check out the Discord. You can check out the registration link for the hackathon. Always there. So I'll just quickly, what I'll do is I'll pull up my screen once. So yeah, that's the hackathon. So if you already register for the hackathon, that's super awesome. If you still haven't registered, do check out the website. Go to hacktoskill.com. You may find this website on the page itself. So check out the Data Engineering Hackathon 2024. It's an exciting opportunity to learn actually about Informatica's cloud services and also various other learning aspects to it. So it's not just a hackathon, it's a whole process of learning and then your implementation and solutioning of variable challenges. So if you may go through the website, we are closing on the registrations on 11th. So these are the multiple regions we are open to. There are, why should you participate? What will you get out of the hackathon? Then there are upcoming workshops. We are today on the cloud mass injection. We will be coming back again tomorrow for cloud data profiling and quality. So in case you want to register for the workshops, you can just simply go ahead, click here, and register for the workshops as well. So these are the two open-ended themes. So one is related to data pipeline, the other one circles around AI, ML, data science. So it's just the themes. The problem statement is open for you to choose, right? So that's how you are learning out of it. It is open innovation. You bring in the table the solution. Just be aligned that to about those two themes which are listed on the website. Then we'll get a chance to meet all of our mentors onboarded. So there's a list of mentors, there's a list of jury members, there's timeline for you to review. Not just that, we have a 10,000 US dollars of pool price for all of you that has to be covered. So whatever you submit will be judged based on these parameters which you can see on the screen altogether. So make sure that you register, you don't miss out on the workshops, and then you make the most out of this hackathon. Learn, submit your ideas, get out of this as a winner. So there, if you want to add something, or maybe I'll pull up Pritham Rudra on the stage. Pritam,
No,
Sudhir.
no. I think there is one question on the trial piece that I think Lawrence has posted that shows mass injection is gray out. So, but I think I'm not sure which trial you're using. I think it's all the services are provision. Maybe you can put it on Discord. We can check it out, Lawrence, on that part. Okay, so that's
And there is
Sure, then.
also another question from Lawrence asking like, are we able to use mass ingestion workflows within CI? So there's no direct process to use mass ingestion in CI, but what you can do is like after you created mass ingestion, you can use that particular mass ingestion in CDI workflow, and you can use that particular task flow in CI. So it has to go through CDI and then CI. So that is how you do it. You CI cannot access the CMI directly. Yeah.
So I was just posting the website link for all of you, those who are new to the website, those who are coming down for the first time, for you guys to register. I'm just putting across the link in the chat. Do check out the website, do check out the hackathon, make sure you register and you become part of this great initiative altogether. Preetham, Sudhir, thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to more of these all together. And I wish all the very best to the participants. Please, we'll be hosting this whole, video recording onto the dashboard. In case you or your fellow mates missed it out or you joined late onto this session, you can refer it through your dashboards. But yeah, thank you so much everyone for joining us today. We all the very best and a very good evening. Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Pritham.
thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks, Sudha.